Good evening. On behalf of the Commission on Presidential Debates, I am pleased to welcome you to this first presidential debate of the 1988 campaign. I'm Jim Lara of the McNeil-Lara NewsHour. My colleagues on the panel are John Mashik of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Ann Grower of the Orlando Sentinel, and Peter Jennings of ABC News. Vice President George Bush, the Republican nominee, Governor Michael Dukakis, the Democratic. The first question, by agreement between the two candidates, goes to Vice President Bush. It is a domestic question. You have 2 minutes for an answer, sir. The polls say the number one domestic issue to a majority of voters is drugs. What is there about these times that drives or draws so many Americans to use drugs?
I think we've seen a deterioration of values. I think for a while as a nation we condoned those things we should have condemned. For a while, as I recall, it even seems to me that there was talk of legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana and other drugs, and I think that's all wrong. So we've seen a deterioration in values, and one of the things that I think we should do about it in terms of cause is to instill values into the young people in our schools. We got into this feeling that value-free education was the thing. And I don't believe that at all. I do believe there are fundamental rights and wrongs as far as use. And of course, as far as how we make it better, yes, we can do better on interdiction, but we've got to do a lot better on education, and we have to be tougher on those who commit crimes. We've got to get after the users more. We have to change this whole culture. You know, I saw a movie, Crocodile Dundee, and I saw the cocaine scene treated with humor, as though this was a humorous little incident. And it's bad. Everybody ought to be in this thing. Entertainment, industry, people involved in the schools, education. And it isn't a Republican or Democrat or a liberal problem, but we have got to instill values in these young people. And I have put forward a many-point drug program that includes what I would do as President of the United States in terms of doing better on interdiction and in terms of doing better in the neighborhoods. But I think we're all in this together. And my plea to the American people is values in the schools.
Next question will be asked by John Mashik. It goes to Governor Dukakis, and you will have 2 minutes to answer.
Governor Dukakis, another troublesome issue for voters this year is the bulging federal deficit. In a Dukakis administration, you say taxes will be raised only as a last resort. Would you identify for us then, please, 3 specific programs that you are willing to cut to bring that deficit down?
Yes, and I've been very specific about those, John, and let me lay out for you my own strategy for bringing that deficit down, because as a chief executive that's balanced 10 budgets in a row, I've had to make those tough decisions and those tough choices. First, I've suggested that there are certain weapon systems which we don't need and we can't afford. Mr. Bush has been critical of me for that, but I think those are the kinds of tough choices you have to make. I've also suggested that there are weapon systems that we should proceed on, and I've outlined those in detail. Secondly, we've got to invest in economic growth in this country, in every part of this country. Building that kind of growth expands revenues and helps to bring down that deficit. Thirdly, we have to bring interest rates down, and we will as we come up with a good, solid plan with the Congress for bringing that deficit down. And finally, we've got to go out there and collect billions and billions of dollars in taxes owed that aren't being paid in this country. It's very unfair to the average taxpayer who pays his taxes and pays them on time to permit these monies to go uncollected. I've also suggested that on the domestic side, there are areas where we can make some cuts. We ought to be able to come up with an agricultural policy in this country that gives our farm families a fair price and a decent future without spending $20 to $25 billion a year, which is what we've been doing under this administration. We can help people to live better lives and at the same time save money by helping hundreds of thousands of families on welfare to get off of welfare and to become productive citizens again.